Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to crumble!
I'm Joshua Kemble, and welcome to Joshua Kemble's Livestream. I've been a freelance illustrator and graphic designer for over 20 years. I was an art director for 9 years. And when I'm not art directing and working on illustrations and graphic designs, I'm working on comic books and graphic novels, and that's usually what I do during my streams. And while conversations can go all over the place on this stream, from spicy and entertaining to goofy and silly, one thing stays consistent throughout every stream. I'll always be working on art. So pull up a chair, get your art supplies out, and get ready for an entertaining show that'll keep you company while you work on your own personal art projects. This is Joshua Kemble's Art Stream. All right, let's go. We're live. Jim Lujan said, let's get it on. Let's do this, my dudes and dudettes. Nice. Chris said, oh, hey, I'm on time for a party for once. That's right, you are. We're going to work on some comics today. We're going to work on Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And I'm going to play the entirety of my Modern Monsters album, which is this crazy concept album that I've been secretly kind of putting together in the background for like the last few weeks. And I'm really proud of it. It's 10 songs. They're all themed on monsters. The song titles are all A Color and a Monster. And so, you know, we've got vampires, werewolves, Frankensteins, zombies. We've got funky mummies. I'm singing in a register on the song about mummies that I didn't realize I could hit. It's very like, you got your phone cam, like in that kind of voice. So I'm excited to share it with you guys. But first, the thing that I need to do is pull up my artwork and get going on that. Chris, is Comic-Con already done? I'm guessing Comic-Con's done. I know my buddy Chris, who's in the chats, got to do a panel at Comic-Con on key art and movie art and stuff. And I was really proud of him and my buddy Ralph for rocking some panels at the Comic-Con like adults. Look at us, adults doing adulting things like panels at Comic-Cons. That's pretty hardcore. Nice. Chris said, whew, we're back. It was a lot, but it was a good show. Nice. I'm glad to hear that. Good show, old chap. Good show, I dare say. I have been, I finally finished up the summer school classes that I was teaching, which, to be honest, was just like a completely unbelievable experience. It was really cool. It was fun to introduce kids who've never been introduced to like really cool books to those books and teaching them how to like dig into the books and think about the themes and like the Freudian analysis of the books and like the implications of the books on our broader society as a whole. And it was fun. It was fun. But it was exhausting because when I found out I was teaching those classes, it was literally like a day before they started. And so for the last month, like part of why I haven't even been live streaming is what I would do is get home. I'd usually like take a power nap. I'd wake up, I'd work on comics and then maybe some freelance. And then I would spend the rest of the day till about 3 a.m. creating lesson plans for the next day. And then I'd go to sleep from like 3 to like 6, jet over to the school to like make copies and get everything prepped for the class, and then teach through it, and then grade, because this is what's nuts. English teachers are insane. Like the grading, that the time it takes to grade English is unbelievable. I can't believe people do that all the time. Because like comparatively to teaching art or history, which I've taught both of those, but teaching English in particular is like insanely hard for grading, because you're having to check grammar, you're having to check all that specific stuff. And so I would get out of class at like 2, and from about 2 to 6, 2 to maybe 5, 2 to 6, I'd be grading. And then I would get home, power nap, and just cycle through it all over. And so if you even saw like the last Artcasters, I was so sleep deprived when we did that. I think Corey was pretty exhausted too. It was a great one. Luckily, we had Jim Lujan on. And so Jim Lujan is going to carry a show regardless of the hosts, because he's just hilarious and a genius, and especially a comedic genius. But man, when I got to my last day of that, I was like, oh my gosh. So that's great. I have a good few weeks to just kind of reset, recalibrate, and then it's like right back to it. But the nice thing is this weekend too, I'm going to be going to an art retreat and meeting up with the Circland and with the Hodges and and with the Lujan and some other folks, and that should be incredibly cool. Speaking of the Hodges are in chat. Paul said Jim is kind of funny looking. Exactly. So I'm looking forward to that art retreat. I do need to get everything set up for that, but I think I'll just prep that all on Thursday. And the last few days, like let's say Saturday, I mostly just slept like the entire day just to kind of like recoup from the crazy summer. And then Sunday, I started kind of working on comics and getting caught up at a somewhat leisurely pace. And then Monday, which was yesterday, I just had like a great day where I got back to my regimen of working out, which I had been pretty consistent with up until that last week of teaching, where again, because of just the 3-hour sleeping schedule, there was just no way that I was going to be able to hit the gym or do my exercises. And so Chris was like, "Oh, burn." And Paul was like, "Booyah." Booyah, by the way, I don't know if that's used anymore by the kids. I think it's like owned, or, there's other words they use now, but booyah is not one I've heard a lot. And then Jim is saying, I'm going to shake it off because, Jim Lujan is, I'm blanking out on that singer's name. That's like the biggest singer in the world who wrote Shake It Off. But I know Jim's a big fan. Paul said, I'm off work with back spasms, messed up on muscle relaxers. Nice. So Paul is just stoned out of his mind on muscle relaxers. Muscle relaxers. That's actually a tongue twister to say. I didn't even realize it till I said it. And now I know, and knowing's half the battle. Say muscle relaxers 10 times fast. Try it right now if you're listening. See if you can do it. So Chris said, we really shouldn't even try with modern Gen Alpha slang. Yeah, it's pretty tough. Like, you got to have some real riz. You hear that, kids? Riz to pull that off. Yeah, no cap. I'm just trying to be in touch with the younger generation who's clearly coming in swarms to this stream to really learn from their elders how it's done. No cap, no capping, no cap, no capping, America. I don't know. All right, guys, we're gonna get into some art. My bad jokes. Skibbity toilet, no cap, my Sigma. That's good. That's good, Chris. All right, so boom. Look at that. What is that? That's a comic page that has been a beast and a half to pencil. Paul said, LMAO, you're doing great, Josh. I know. And Paul is like an official judge of new slang. He's literally dropping the new slang like a madman. And so if Paul approves, I will take that. All right. So this was a beast to do. We're gonna shade this sucker. I'm gonna shade for about let's say probably 2 hours. And then I'm gonna take off to feed my dogs, and then I'll probably be we'll probably be working on stuff a little bit later. So pretty good. Have you guys ever watched Curb Your Enthusiasm? Because one of the things that is insanely addictive from Curb Your Enthusiasm is that whole thing of it was pretty good. He does that over and over again where it's just incredibly hilarious. Anyhow, pretty good. All right, so we're gonna do some shading. We're gonna listen to some rock and roll. I'm gonna do this because I want you guys to listen to the insane rock opera that I made. It's not really like a rock opera, but it's an album that's themed on monsters. And I'm starting to get into this idea of themed albums. Like the last one I did was The Worst Places to Work. And the whole thing was themed around just awful workplaces, mostly office workplaces, but just horrible workplaces. And now this album is based on monsters, and every song tackles a monster. Some of them are funny, some of them are political. They kind of go all over the place. Some of them are kind of personal, but still the tying thread is I had to do a different monster for each song. Kind of like Universal Monsters type stuff. I think they count. So track number one is called Gray Ghosts, and I'm going to play this one. And this has a very late 90s, early 2000s kind of emo hardcore kind of vibe to it. So we're going to play it. All right, so that was Ghosts. That was called Gray Ghosts. That's a song that I wrote. Again, like that was the beginning of this monster theme. That was the first one I recorded for the album. And I just kept them in the order that I recorded them in on the album because it just kind of felt right. But the thing that dawned on me when I wrote this was like, I wanted to write a song kind of that was like a horror, spooky song. And then I was kind of thinking, what's like a modern kind of interpretation of ghosts? And then I was thinking, like, there's this thing that happens when you lose people in life where you're kind of haunted by the memory of people you've lost. And then, like, as you get older, it's strangely like collecting ghosts. Like, you're collecting memories. And each time you lose someone, you kind of lose a little bit of yourself, right? And so that's what that song is about. But also, it still has some fun elements. Like when it says ghosts, you'll notice there's a ooh, which I thought was really fun. So that's like the first solo song on this album that kind of sets the tone. This is going to be some rock and roll, potentially some punk rock and roll, maybe some other kinds of rock and roll. Who knows? The gamut of rock and roll that will happen on this album. But I was pretty proud of that song, and like I've mentioned this probably ad nauseum on this stream, but I have been so inspired musically lately, where I just can't stop recording music. I even have a new song that I'm working on because I think the next album that I'm going to do. Nice. Pepsi said the screaming vocal actually sounds good. Reminds me of the 2000s alt band Snake River Conspiracy. Nice. Thanks. Yeah. So, it's going to be kind of interesting to see what people think of this album. But for me, it's been really fun. And the new one that I'm going to be working on is probably going to be like all acoustic and probably rocking some banjos and stuff too. Why? Because I can, and I feel like making some folky banjo stuff. So yeah, so that's probably what's going to come. But that's not what we're playing today. We're going to play just sneak peeks of this album to share with you guys while I have coffee. And then we're just going to continue to kind of shade this thing as well. So let's do that. All right, let's play track 2. So track 2 is called Orange Monster. And you could probably guess who that's about. But it's basically, about a weird ruler who wants to rig the Supreme Court to be basically fully immune from crimes. And is super greedy and a hoarder and a really rich man who likes things, preferably made of gold, likes having big 4-letter names on towers and things like that. So this one's called Orange Monster. Here it is. All right, so that was Orange Monster. And Pepsi said, love this great use of audio vocal manipulation. You're on a roll. Headbangs, nice. Yeah, I used a lot of the megaphone, and there's a couple songs on this album where I do that, where I use like the old school kind of megaphone trick. Um, it's a it's a thing that I feel like the first time I heard that was the Beastie Boys using it, where they'd sing into a megaphone and then have the mic in front of the megaphone. But it's also been used by. It was definitely famously used by. Um, oh my gosh, why am I blanking out? Um, Stone Temple Pilots. Scott Weiland used to use that a lot when he sang and stuff. So let's see here. Okay, so that was Orange Monster. Do you want to hear more? Do you want to hear more? Are you ready to rock? Because that's what I want to do here. While I'm kind of establishing roughly the tones on this panel. And then we will continue in a wee bit. Because obviously, I think there's going to need to be a little bit of back and forth on this. I think I'm going to go in with the grays, and then I might go back over it with some white, just to kind of like really work out the blocking on this. Okay, so let's get to track 3. This one is called Red Zombie, and this is about zombie Supreme Court justices. So here it is. And I think red might be in regards to, there's certain political parties that tend to use red as their color. All right, so that is Red Zombies. And that is, about a zombie republic. Yeah, and quite a bit about the zombie Supreme Court, and also about zombie debates. And so nice. Pepsi said capturing the times, fun sound. Thanks. Yeah, and again, if you guys kind of dig this too, you can check this out on Spotify. Like the whole album, you could stream it for free. It's Modern Monsters, Joshua Kemble. And you can just look that up on Spotify or Amazon or whatever your music streaming platform is. If you prefer to own albums, you can buy it on iTunes or Apple Music or on Amazon as well. Okay, so we're kind of getting this landscapey thing going. This is where roughs are really nice too, because as I'm working, I have this rough printed out right here, like my rough. So this is like a little map for what the values are going to be, which makes me a little more confident on the final to kind of know what direction I'm going. And then from there, I'll kind of, obviously, I think on this, I might have to kind of rework in some lights and darks, but we're just kind of brushing through this first panel. Dylan said, I've been missing your lives. I've been missing them too. I've been missing you guys. Like, again, you know, it was really a cool experience teaching that summer school class, those summer school classes. And also teaching English for the first time was really an invigorating and cool experience. But man, am I glad to be back and have a little bit more of a semblance of a life outside of work again. So that's going to be really nice. And I do intend to be streaming a little bit more. I'm not sure how we're going to do it. We haven't quite worked it out, but there is like an art retreat kind of thingy happening this weekend. And there is a huge possibility that we might, live stream in some fashion or another from said event. I'm not sure quite how. We might end up doing an Artcasters from said event. And again, I'm not really sure how we're going to work that out, but we will. We'll find a way. We'll find a way. Nature finds a way, guys. Okay? Chris said, me fail English? That's impossible. Nice. Yeah, that's definitely impossible for sure. I gotta ask you if that's possible, and it's definitely not. But luckily you didn't even ask, so you know. Okay, so all right. JP forever. Nice. All right, so we're gonna do. He caught the reference, the little Jurassic Park reference there. All right, so what we're gonna do is listen to a little bit more of this album. I'm excited to share it with you guys because there's 10 whole songs, and I'm pretty excited. Pepsi said Artcasters Retreat Live. Yeah, I think it'll be fun. We'll see how it goes. It might be on the Making Comics show. It might be on Artcasters. It might be on both. It might. I don't even know. Maybe Gary's going to do a stream. I don't know. We're going to figure it out. And then get back to you. All right. Let's get into Black Creature. This is the creature from the Black Lagoon, and this one is less political and more inspired by my loaches, who are two really ridiculously silly fish that have like tentacle mustaches, and they look a little bit like snakes, and they're amazing. They're like the happiest, funniest fish I've ever seen. And so I wrote an anthem to my fish, and this is called Black Creature.
Snake creatures slither underwater, not gonna surface till things get hotter. Wiggle down in the depths, contort yourself, and ride the current till you hit the shell. Your gills open and shut so fast. Got a tentacle and mustache, that's a blast. You're a creature from the depths that gets so black. A loach with the most, and that's a fact. To the loach now. To the loach now, wiggle your arms back and forth like a little cow. forth like a lolcow. You're a creature from the black. Do you know how to shimmy those hips in and out? I swam out from the deepest ocean to this lagoon to express my emotions. Hope I survive on the changing of the water, and with joy I will find you. You're a really cool fish swimming in the water. It's time to move more and make things harder. Wiggle up, wiggle down, can't hold you back. You're a snake-like creature from the deep, deep black. Time to open those gills and breathe real fast. And wiggle your tentacles, have a blast. You're a creature from the depths that gets so black. A loach with the most, and that's a fact. Do the loach now, do the loach now. Wiggle your arms back and forth like a lolcow. You're a creature from the black. Do you know how to shimmy those hips in and out? Do the loach now, do the loach now. Wiggle your arms back and forth like a lolcow. You're a creature from the black. Do you know how to shimmy those hips in and out? I swam out from the deepest ocean to this lagoon to express my emotions. Hope I survive on the changing of the water, and with joy I will swim and I will find you.
All right, so that was Black Creature, which is a song dedicated to my loaches, who are the coolest fish. Chris was saying, do the loach now will be the next baby shark. It should be. It should be. But yeah, so anyhow, that was a silly song, but meaningful. They're wonderful fish. They're wonderful fish. Okay, so what else? Dylan was asking if anybody watched Scott's new video this morning. It was fun. Yeah, Scott did a video on color forms. And that, to me, just the idea of him creating color forms was really exciting to me because as a kid of the 80s, color forms were my jam, dude. I had G.I. Joe color forms. And that color form set got so much play. Like, I loved color forms as a kid. I had a Super Friends one, I believe, and I think I had a specific Spider-Man one as well. And they were like the coolest thing. Like, color forms were really cool. That was like way before, nowadays I think with apps and things like that, like color forms are probably not quite as popular as they once were, or as like capturing of the imagination. But man, back in the day, being able to kind of like move your characters around was just really cool. Dylan was saying, I think Scott should make a color form based on his comic. Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. He should do a Young and the Dead color form. But it was cool to see like a kaiju one for sure. And by the way, I have a Monsters album, and one of these monsters will for sure be a kaiju. So, all right. So let's, with a special guest, my sister-in-law, doing some vocals on that as well. All right. This song is called White Vampires, and this one is about vampires. And it's basically, again, this one's more specifically about the Supreme Court. And it's kind of like, hey, these people can't harm you unless you invite them in. Who invited them in? Basically, the point being, the Supreme Court's elected by somebody. And if the Supreme Court starts doing things that undo the Constitution, you have to ask who invited them in? Who invited the people who are destroying the Constitution into the Supreme Court? It's an interesting question. So let's see here. So this is called White Vampires. And this is song number 5. right, that was White Vampires. We're halfway through the album, guys. We're halfway through the album. Is it not awesome? I think it's awesome. I feel really good about it. Again, like something about making a theme to kind of riff off of is really fun, and I think I might continue that. Whether it's a stylistic theme or a physical thing. Like on the next album, I think I'm just going to do folk songs with banjos, but the themes might be all over the place. Although that one's coming a little, it's definitely that one, which I've only just started. I think I have like one song track is more like an existential theme. Like I have like a Sisyphean song and some other stuff that's going to be probably revolving around existentialism. But this is something I had a lot of fun with, and I can't wait to share the Mummy song because it's probably the weirdest song I've ever made, and I cannot wait to share it with you guys because it's like a funk song, and I get real high pitched in my singing, hitting pitches I didn't realize I could. And that's pretty exciting, and I love it. And it's horrible. Nice. Pepsi said the recent themes have been executed well. Thanks, man. I'm glad to have the endorsement of Pepsi. Okay. Nice. Yeah. Chris said, I think the Federalist Society invited them in with immortal term limits. Exactly. All right. Action Jackson asks, what are my thoughts on RDJ as Dr. Doom? Sorry, when I see RDJ, I think of RTJ, which is Run the Jewels. You know? So I'm like, I mean, I like Run the Jewels. No, RDJ. Here, you know what? I'm going to be honest and kind of the snobby indie artist guy. I'm kind of I loved Marvel a lot when I was in junior high. Like I was obsessed with superhero comics. I was, when I was in 8th and 9th grade, Spawn was one of the coolest things on the planet. Prior to that, when I was in like 4th and 5th grade, like Spider-Man like helped me get through rough times as a kid. Like I was very connected to superhero books. And then when the Marvel movies started coming out, it brought back my love of superhero stuff. Like it brought back some nostalgic memories of what I loved so much about superhero comics. And I think they did an excellent job with those early movies. But and same with the Dark Knight, like the Dark Knight trilogy. That was it brought back like this wild love that I have for those books, like the nostalgia, the love that I had when I was a kid with those books. But this thing happened later. When I got a little older, I started dipping into the Sandman, and then from the Sandman and the Max, like stuff that was a little more artsy, still kind of superhero-ish, but more artistic. And then from there, I delved into like slice of life stuff and like, comics that started getting more literary in scope. And I kind of lost a lot of interest in the superhero stuff, the capes and tights stuff. And that like lasted well into my adult life, where I still have a nostalgia for the capes and tights stuff. I like when I was really little too. One of my favorite movies was the original Christopher Reeves like Superman movies. I would watch those on repeat because they were so cool, and I really wanted that kind of thing as a kid. But so this is my long-winded answer to my thought of them having, Doctor Doom casting. I'm honestly like I grew out of those comics, and I kind of feel like I'm grown out of those movies. Like I enjoy them. They're kind of fun, but they're forgettable. And um, this is awful to say because I know a lot of our audience are like superhero people, and that's cool. I'm just talking for my own thing. And by the way, this is also coming from a guy who, like, I love the Batman TV series. Like, I religiously watch that. Like, I probably watch at least one episode of the original Batman a week. Like, still to this day, like, I absolutely love uh, the original Batman television series, the live action. Um, but I kind of don't care about superheroes. Like, I'm sorry. I kind of got over them when I was younger. I grew out of them, and I would occasionally dip into it uh, just to kind of like experience superheroes for a little bit again. And even now, like, I'll dip into superheroes. I tried to watch Deadpool a couple days ago because that's something that totally flew by my radar and I never watched, which is just a byproduct of making comics. And I kind of watched it, and I know everybody thought it was hilarious and amazing. I was bored by it. It's like the dark superhero thing, ultra violent. Like, it would have been cool when I was in junior high. Um, when I was in junior high, I would have been all about that. I would have been like, oh, it's cool. He like cut off somebody's arm and is making jokes, and he's really quippy and funny, and like he's the merc with the whatever. And I was really into like Image and that like darker stuff, in junior high and freshman year of high school. Um, and I'm not trying to say like guys who are my age that are into that are like stuck in junior high. I'm not trying to imply that at all. I'm talking from my own experience, how I feel, right? This is not by any means like a prescription of how you should feel. But yeah, I'm kind of bored with it, man. I like, like superhero comics are not all that comics have to offer. And it's annoying to me that that's the comics that get attention when there's so many good comics out there. That's annoying to me. Like it'd be like if people just ignored the great works of books and novels and all they talked about were like Tom Clancy novels. That's what I feel like comics are in that rut. And we're and honestly, I'm not alone on this. Like Will Eisner felt that way about The Spirit. Like he felt like The Spirit was the comics ghetto and he wanted to get out of it and make like broader work, right? He called that the comics ghetto, like the superhero capes and tights thing was like this genre that they were stuck in. And I see it that way. I don't want to just read about superheroes. I like a superhero movie or story every once in a while, but I'd rather see something new and original, trying something different. There's a million other genres. How many times do we have to see grown men steroided out, stuffing themselves into like squishy, like, spandex and play fighting? Like, like how many times do we watch this same stupid plot with the same stupid characters fighting the same stupid battles? I'm over it. I'm over the superhero thing. I'll watch it every once in a while, and dip into that world every once in a while. But come on, like, just no more capes and tights. I'm over it. And no more, oh, it's capes and tights, but dark. Like, that is probably the genre I am the most over, is like the capes and tights, but serious. Like, I am so over that. Jim was saying, are you talking about this weekend's retreat? No, those are some capes and tights that I'm still a fan of. You know what I'm saying? But no, yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying the genre is boring to me. And it has been for a long time. And I did enjoy the Marvel movies, when they came out. And I still vividly remember when Iron Man came out. Dude, that was a game-changing movie. It was incredible. And as a person who loved comics growing up, it felt like it was tapping into everything I loved about comics. And same with the first Captain America. I know there's some people who don't like that Captain America movie. I feel like that's one of the best of all the new Marvel movies. Was the original Captain America. Not the original, but the one on the modern MCU. But the thing is, I just don't care. Like, I mean, I'm at that point where I'm like, I'm glad that there's some cartoonists probably making a living. I guess it's good that Disney's getting $1 billion more for some franchise that they're just going to push into the grave until it gets overworked and overplayed. But I am an indie kid. I've been an indie snob most of my life. I like some mainstream bands, and mainstream bands are fun sometimes. Sometimes it's great to just put on some cheesy rock and roll and some pop music and rock out. But I think there's stuff that's deeper than pop music, and I think there's a lot of comics that are deeper and better than, these boring genres that just keep getting rehashed. A good example would be Paul Pate. Paul Pate has a detective fiction story, right? Can we do that? Can we do that instead of another thing? And I love Dr. Doom. That's the other thing. I'm a fan of hip hop too, and hip hop has used Dr. Doom for years as like a symbol. Like, he has the coolest mask. He's a great villain. He's a great hero. He's like just this weird kind of interesting character, where he's like an anti-hero villain, like switches all over the place. I love that. Chris was saying I still enjoy it like a Yamu meal. Might not be philosophically nutritious, but it's really enjoyable. That's my point. It's just junk food, and I like junk food, but can we have some real food again? Because like this is my 20th Happy Meal in a row, and I kind of want real food now. Like, I don't mind chicken nuggets every once in a while, but I can't just keep eating chicken nuggets. And I can't keep having companies force feed me chicken nuggets all the time. It's disgusting after a while. It's like, dude, I like the pink slime. I'll admit it. Like, I know it's not healthy. The pink slime, chicken nuggets are good every once in a while. But can we eat something else, please? Can we try some other foods? Because I'm so over it. That's how I feel right now, just to be honest. So, yeah. Dylan said, the Man of Steel came out around the time I found out I was gay, so plus... well, I mean, like, again, it's cool. It looks awesome. It's fun to look at people who are at their prime, right? Who just look incredible and they're built and magnificent. It's like watching Greek gods and stuff. But that's the thing too. Like, I remember, let's get into drawing some stuff for about 4 minutes, and then I'm going to take a quick break. I also equally had a time in high school, I remember, where I got really fascinated with like Norse and Greek mythology. And I read a whole bunch of Norse and Greek mythology, and it was really fascinating and cool. And interesting. But then I remember after about a year of reading Norse and Greek mythology, I kind of wanted to just read like a different thing. Like, it just, the plot cop-outs and godlike powers got kind of old after a while, where it was like, I don't know, I kind of want to read like a detective fiction story, or, like Catcher in the Rye, or like On the Road, or like maybe just, branch out. Maybe I want to read The Great Gatsby, or, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many other things than superheroes, and I'm sorry to like do that if that's gonna bum out all the dudes who like are obsessed with capes and tights stuff. But it's just like, man, it is so boring to me at this point. It's really boring. And here's the thing too. I love cheesy kung fu movies. This is a perfect example, actually. I love me a cheesy kung fu flick. I there's hardly anything I love more than sitting down and watching a very terrible kung fu flick with great fight scenes. You know, it's fun, it's action packed, and stuff like that. Um, and I love it. But if that's all I consumed, I would go freaking crazy. I would lose my mind if that's all I consumed. Because and also I wouldn't pretend these are great things. Like, um, you know, a good martial arts movie is a good martial arts movie, but it's not like high art, great stuff. Like the best ones tend to have terrible plots. And the thing that kills me about the superhero genre are people who are pretending that these are great stories, like they're great iconic stories, and they're not. They're horrible. Like the plots are awful. The characters never die. They always come up with, and this is a problem that was pervasive in the comics I loved growing up, you know, where you have a character die and then you have a Lazarus pit, or you have like an alternate dimension, and then we end up hopping time in 50 different dimensions, and it's all just basically crappy writers trying to keep their IP alive. And you know what? It's not even bad writers. It's just the game. The game is, let's build this IP and then drain it for everything that it's worth and make bed sheets. It's making product, and again, it can be fun and I can enjoy it, but like, man, I gotta say, and I guess I'm feeling a little fresh and fiery on this because yesterday I literally tried to watch Deadpool. And I got through about 3/4 of it, and I was like, I just don't even think it's funny. It's like the comedy is not even funny. It's funny if you're a demented seventh grader. You know, if you're a seventh grader who likes watching people get disemboweled while somebody makes jokes. But it's not even that good of a script. It's stupid. It's a dumb movie. And it's funny, I guess, but like it's not as funny as like Airplane. it's not that funny. It's only kind of funny because it's trying that shock value, but even for shock value, it's no like Evil Dead, you know, which is like shock value humor that's really good. It's just a stupid movie. It's a stupid movie. And if you like it, that's okay. Again, I'm talking about my opinion, but it was just hard to even sit through because I'm like, I just kind of don't care. Like Watchmen was interesting because it went dark and it started challenging conceptions, and it wasn't funny. It was a real like critique of the superhero genre, and not just that, it had something broader to say about, like, I mean, heck, Watchmen even starts making existential statements about the creation of the world. Like it doesn't just drop at like a we're superheroes and we kill without any consequence. Like I don't care for that. I'm over that. And if I'm going to do that, I'd rather watch Judge Dredd or something that's built more properly around that. I guess I'm just saying, I don't understand why they have to keep. I don't know. I'm over it. I'm over it. And I'm sure there's going to be other good movies. Like, again, I went to see almost all of the MCU movies and I enjoyed them a lot. My favorite actually was, I think, from round 2 or whatever, because I think there's different phases. And my favorite character is Doctor Strange. I love Doctor Strange. I like all the weird, like, magic worlds and, like, time travel-y craziness and stuff like that. Like, I think that Doctor Strange is super fun. But again, I don't even know if I want to see a Doctor Strange movie. You know? I feel like I mean, it makes sense. You know, I'm an indie cartoonist. So what do you want? Like, I'm not going to like a lot of the mainstream stuff. It's just kind of the nature of indie. It's just like, I don't know. It's kind of boring to me. A lot of it's really boring. And I hate to say that. But I'm very passionate about it, particularly because I watched Deadpool and I was like, why are people so obsessed with this stupid movie? It's an awful movie. It's horrible. It's a terrible movie. It's not even good. It's like the effects are good, I guess. The action's interesting, I guess, but it's not even like John Wick does what Deadpool was trying to do 50,000 times better. Why? I don't know. I feel like, you know why people like it? It's because it's a dude in cape and tights. I guess he doesn't have a cape. But people just like the dude in spandex, like fighting crime. I don't understand. I don't know. Again, I understand when you're a kid, but yeah. Dylan's saying, Chris was saying it's resurrection by coin. Characters can't die when they're too profitable. Yeah, and again, like, I don't know. I think the older I get, the more I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I just don't know about that stuff. I don't know if I don't know if I care as much about that stuff as I did when I was a kid. There's a part of me that's like, I don't know. I kind of left some of that in childhood because honestly, some of it's really childish and not like it, I don't even know if it's bad to say it's childish. It is. It's you know. Yeah, I don't know. But what do you expect from like an autobio cartoonist? I don't know. I know a lot of people make indie comics that like love the mainstream stuff. I don't know. It's kind of boring. Yeah, Chris was saying Deadpool did get to be meta about the genre and not take itself seriously. Yeah, I know, but it's like that's the part that I kind of feel like I'm kind of over that. Like I'm the sarcastic superhero who knows what's going. It's like, no more. I'm done. I'm done with it all. I'm done with it all. And with that, hopefully, I'm sure I've just offended a lot of people because that is a very popular genre in comics. I gotta fix that horse's shading. Okay. Dylan's like, Joshua all grown up. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been kind of on the fence about a lot of that stuff. But it's like I don't dislike people who like it. Like, I think people who like it can like it, Again, I really enjoy cartoons, and there's a lot of people who'd be like, "Oh, those are for kids and stuff." And I enjoy cartoons that are for kids too. I enjoy a lot of things that are for kids. So it's like I don't judge someone who's into that. I kind of think they have a really disgusting monopoly on comics, and comics need to move past just superheroes and the man children the man children who are forcing that genre down our throats by being the primary consumers of comics need to grow the hell up and buy other books. Like, there's other books than that, and that's my hot take. That's my fire today. All right. Yeah, Gary was saying, I'm not anti-superhero movie, but I have felt for a while now that there aren't really any stories left to tell. There are a ton of stories you could tell in superhero genres and stuff like that. But just let's just do one other, like, let's just ditch the capes and tights for a little bit and explore some other territories, Okay, Gary was saying, I see most of them as something like a ride at Disneyland. It's a fun experience, but not exactly great art. Except Mr. Toad's, which is the highest form of art on the planet. I think Mr. Toad's Wild Ride transcends rides at parks and to the highest level of art. How many other times in life do you have a bunch of drinks and then go to hell because you got in a car crash after drunk driving? And while you're in this car and you're going to hell, you're looking around and there's a bunch of little kids like on the ride. It's the best ride ever. All right, I'll be right back. We're gonna play. I want to hear what you guys think about that. Does that make you mad? Let me know in the chats. I don't think it'll make anyone mad. I think a lot of us feel this way. I think a lot of us, even those of us who enjoy those movies, I think are kind of like, come on, like, but like support something new. Stop rehashing just this old crap and like force feeding it over and over and over again. Like it just makes something new, like a different genre. The superhero thing with the spandex and stuff like that, that was something people came up with 100 years ago. And it was a fresh new thing when they came up with it. Where's your fresh new thing? Make something new and stop rehashing these old properties and with just crappy plot lines that are just made to soak the income out of people. We can do better. We can do better. Comics can do better. And they do better. Unfortunately, those things, though, the income-sucking spandex, they're like, this is what I'm going to start calling them. They're spandex that are like a giant sponge that is soaking out all the good from the rest of the industry. I'm going to go hard on this because I'm sick of it. I'm sick of those movies. I'm sick of the books. I'm sick of those books. I'm glad they exist for my son when he gets to junior high, but let's broaden the spectrum. It doesn't can we not have the whole comics industry be the kids book section in the bookstore? Or the horror section? It's like that's all it is. It's like the edgy kids book section and the kids book section. But there's no adults in the room. And the adults that are in the room are having trouble selling any books because it's all kids. Okay, that was my rant. All right. What are we gonna do here? I'm gonna be in so much trouble on the internet now. That's my feeling, though. That's my feeling. I can't judge other people on it, but that's how I feel about it. I feel pretty annoyed with the capes and tights stuff. That being said, here's Home Shopping Kemble. I'll be right back.
Well, thank you, Colleen. I hope your daughter Kelly does well at North Carolina State this year. Well, we got another caller on the line. Elizabeth from Phoenix, Arizona. Elizabeth, what can we do for you? Are you ready to do some shopping, girl?
Oh, yes, Terry. I am ready to do some shopping today. I'm interested in that 2-book set you have. 2 Stories and Jacob's Apartment.
Oh, well, that's a great choice.
In fact, I bought these books before. I gave a set to my grandson, Hunter. These books are amazing.
Well, they sure are, and if you buy both of them, you really get the whole feel of the whole Joshua Kemble universe. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do, Terry. These books are remarkable because, for one, you can take them anywhere. You could put them in your car, and you can go to the park or the river. We've gone to the river. My husband Taylor and I, we just love it. And I murdered my husband at the river. Yeah, I did. But these still are amazing books.
All right. Gary says a little bit of Invincible I've seen seems good, but I have to admit Watchmen pretty much satisfied me. Making the Boys and Invincible is kind of... That's what I'm saying. I watched Invincible and I really enjoyed it for a little bit. And then I watched Deadpool, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm over it. I'm over the, like, oh, it's superheroes, but dark. Because when I watch it, the depth of it is about, like, some of it's less deep than the original Spider-Man. Spider-Man. The original Spider-Man had some depth to it as a story. You know? And, like, and what's weird is these, like, dark, Watchmen had some depth to it. But like the Boys and Invincible, I feel like they take all the depth out of it and they just become these satirical violence parades. And it's like, I don't know if I think I've outgrown satirical violence parades. Like, honestly, I think it's just like, Yeah, and then they get their brains blown out. Okay, cool. What are you trying to say though? Like, it's like they just it's more and more shallow and more like plot cop outs. Um and meanwhile, there's people out there that I know, indie creators that are making good work and trying new things, stories that haven't been told, and that all gets overlooked for the next guy in tights who's fighting, fantastical bad guys. I know people, human beings, have been drawn to like mysticism and mythology for a long time, so I'm not like gonna change that about human nature, but haven't we outgrown the Greek gods a little bit? Like, can't we can't we move past that to some stories? Ah. This is old man Josh rant. But I'm gonna get worked up because it's how I feel right now. Now, none of this is meant to be like, if you are into this stuff, feel bad. No, you should feel like the beauty of getting to the age I'm at is I like the things I like. I'm going to play some songs off the album that I made. And keep in mind, this album that I made is about monsters, right? And one could easily make the same critique about monster movies or anything fun, So just view what I'm saying with a grain of salt, okay? I'm not a prophet. I'm not like making law. And so what I'm saying is just an opinion, and it's fun to get a little worked up about because honestly, I'm annoyed with it. I'm annoyed with the industry. I have been for a long time, very annoyed with the industry. It's and I'm not just some complainer who's like on the sidelines, like saying comics should be this. I'm actively trying to make comics that are the kind of comics I think should exist. And I might do so in a flawed manner, but that's what I do. That's my response, right? My response to the frustration that this is all comics are. And we were moving so much past this in the early 2000s. We had beautiful, brilliant work. We had books like Blankets coming out like frequently, and artists like that were making decent money for like a window of time that was like 4 years in the comics industry. And now we're back to the capes and tights because that's what the idiots want. And that's the part that I'm kind of over. Pepsi said the art retreat is going to be a hero intervention, isn't it? And then Jim was saying they're going to jump you, Josh, at Fanboy Con this year. But it's one of those things. I don't know, man. I'm like, yeah, I'm over it. And like, I do think, it's good to be a fan. It's good to be a geek and stuff like that. And again, like, I'm literally going to play a song called Funky Mummy that I wrote. Okay. So I'm not like above, cheesy, fun cornball enjoyment of things, but like, do you guys ever wish like they'd create something like Indiana Jones again? Where it's like he's a different kind of superhero, right? And like they don't release new properties anymore like that. Like there's just not going to be that stuff as long as we keep digesting and paying for this crap that's just being force fed down our throat as good. And it's not good. It's not good. That's the thing. It's junk food. Everybody knows it's junk food. All right. That being said, let's listen to my album so now you can critique me. This one's called Blue Werewolf, and it's actually about the werewolf we keep inside, some of which has come out during this show, where I have had the werewolf come out and just vent and rant angrily, because that's what I do. And this song's about that, the werewolf that we all keep inside. The werewolf that hates capes and tights. Wrong album. Let's try that again. Okay, here is the werewolf song. the real werewolf song. Okay, here it is. Boom. All right, that was called Blue Werewolf. That's right, Blue Werewolf. After I went on my long rant about the contrived nature of superhero comics, I then played a song about werewolves. So, like I said, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But yeah, that was Blue Werewolf. That's song number 6 on Modern Monsters. Let's see here. Chris said when it comes to film, A24 is out there trying to do new things and trying new things and new talent. I agree. A24 has been doing really exciting stuff. Gary was saying it's more or less how it's always been. You just have to seek it out. It's true. It's true. This is something I've started to realize. Jim was saying, can you talk a little bit about how you did the drums? Did you program them? That really fits the songs well. I have been doing like a drum machine and kind of altering it and stuff to kind of fit the beats that I want for the songs. So that's been very helpful. And I started doing that on the advice of Jim Lujan because I think Jim heard my first solo album and a lot of the tempo is just wildly off because I was trying to make like a cajon work as like a rhythm and it just wasn't working that well. So yes, that's the only thing that's kind of like digitally generated on the album. Everything else, the bass, the drum, the bass, the guitar, all the guitar parts, all the vocals, all the in some songs banjos and other such things are all actually me playing the literal instrument. But when it comes to the drums, those are just a drum machine and just kind of altering the drum machine to kind of fit the songs that I want, which takes a lot of playing and kind of working around, but eventually kind of works with the songs. And I've been really pretty stunned with the results there, but that's been pretty nice. Pepsi was like, sell out. Dylan said, I just pulled my star-shaped wax melts from the freezer and pulled myself 30 minutes ago. Excited to see how they melt. What are star-shaped wax melts? That sounds amazing. And then Gary said there's an indie animator, James Lujan, doing interesting stuff. He has a movie coming out, something about jazz and jazz mushrooms. I think that Jim is making great work. I think it would be really sad if all Jim was doing was like cape and tight stories. Like I would be less of a fan of Jim Lujan if all he did was capes and tights. I love that he does stories that are different and not expected, not capes and tights. And I understand everything I'm saying to critique could be used to critique what I do. I do a lot of sappy emo stuff, and you could be like, that's all formulaic, sappy emo stuff, But, again, like, I don't like boy bands. I've never been a big fan of boy bands, although I do like Justin Timberlake's solo stuff because that was fire. But my point is, it's just, I'm kind of an indie kid at heart. And so I have a bit of annoyance at the mainstream, which I think kind of can work as a fire to drive you to make other stuff than the mainstream. Speaking of other stuff from the mainstream and fires and all that stuff, this song is called Manila Phantom. And this is about the Phantom of the opera kind of thing. But this is kind of talking about the guys that are handing money behind the scenes politically and how they, like a phantom, are rigging our system. Here it is.
Behind a screen, a one-way mirror, no one knows what he's seeing. Yeah, he's the rich man who is pulling the string of politics. secret hoax to steal their votes like a phantom. Behind the mask, there is a monster that will put you in a cast. Phantom crawling in the background, people like the keyboard, stalking stages of the actor has to play the lead. Phantom funding corporations gathering their information, stalking stages of the actor has to make us bleed. Phantom crawling in the background, people like the keyboard, stalking stages of the actor has to play the lead. Like a phantom behind the scene, they're controlling everything. They're controlling everything. Yeah, they're a bunch of rich men who are pulling the strings of military industry, so they'll do their bidding. Slick manila envelopes filled with money and favors and secret votes. And who needs weapons when you own folks? I've got a blackmailed army and a secret hoax to steal their votes like a phantom. Behind the mask, there is a monster that will put you in a cask like a phantom. Like a phantom. Like a phantom. Like a phantom. Phantom crawling in the background, people like the keyboard, stalking stages of the actor has to play the lead. Phantom funding corporations gathering their information, stalking stages of the actor has to make us bleed. Phantom crawling in the background, people like the keyboard, stalking stages of the actor has to play the lead.
All right, so that was Manila Phantom, and yeah, I know it's a stretch sometimes because I had this idea of like I'm gonna name these with a color and the songs, the color and a monster in the songs, and Manila's not the most appealing, but it was about Manila envelopes that pass secret information. Sometimes maybe handled by alternate slates of electors that are pumping those envelopes full of fake votes to steal elections. I don't know. I mean, that's a possibility. Yeah. So modern monsters. We're almost through it, guys. Now we're going to get into our kaiju song. How many of you guys like monster stories with giant kaijus? Because this song is about a giant kaiju, and it's coming out of the water to attack us. And I'm trying to figure out, are we going to need to fight this kaiju, or are kaiju and I going to be friends? Can we just have a nice friendship and hold hands? And is this kaiju, is this a threat? Is this an enemy? Is this the end of the world? Or is this the beginning of a beautiful friendship? That's what this song is about. And it's called Teal Kaiju. And let's see, let me find the track number. There it is. This is the 8th song on Modern Monsters, which you guys, if you like, can check out on Spotify, and make sure you're following me on Spotify so when new albums come out and stuff, you'll be notified. Here it is. And my sister-in-law does vocals on this too. All right, so that was a song about giant kaiju, and asking the kaiju, hey, are we friends or are we food? Like, are we gonna chill and be friends, or are you gonna eat us? And we're trying to kind of suss that out as this giant kaiju is emerging from the sea. So again, some of this album is like political and serious, and some of it's really goopy. Goopy. Man, I'm off my game today. All right, so Scott appeared out of nowhere and said, "Did someone say kaiju?" Nice. Chris also said, "I can see May in the music video for this for sure." Well, that is May singing, so in Japanese, which is awesome. And then Pepsi said, "Scott Nye, the art guy, welcome and hello." By the way, Scott, I love the Color Forms video. It brought out the nostalgia of Color Forms. Color Forms are something I remember vividly and love from my childhood. I spent many hours playing with Color Forms, getting lost in my imagination. I'm so old, Scott, because now if I mention Color Forms, a lot of people don't know what they are. They aren't quite as big as they were, where in the 80s, if you said this is like Color Forms, people would have a real clear vision of what that meant. And now not so much. But I do remember back, this is how old I am, the first time I taught Photoshop, I used Color Forms as an example of how to use layers in Photoshop. That shows how old I am, and people actually understood it. I remember much later when I taught Photoshop again, using that same example and having a classroom full of like 20-something-year-old kids looking at me like, what are Color Forms? But anyhow, my point being, I have a very soft spot for Color Forms, and I think that's pretty cool, man. And also, the kaiju song would tie in really well with Scott Circlin's latest video. If you want to see what I'm talking about, you should check it out on Scott's channel. he makes some kaiju color forms, and that is pretty exciting. I love it. Chris was saying, is kaiju an allegory for AI? Sure. It wasn't meant to be, but sure, it could be. I like that. It sounds smarter than I think I was being at the time. I think I just wanted to do a song about kaiju and whether whether you're going to be food or friends with the kaiju. But that's actually pretty good as an illusion, because a lot of the songs are like illusions and allegories. So, all right, let's get into Frankenstein. Green Frankenstein. This is my Frankenstein song, guys. And then we're going to play, I'm saving the best for last. The song I'm most proud of and most embarrassed to play, because I embraced my inner funk. Like, I brought the funk on that, and it was like bringing the funk unapologetically, and to the point where when I made it, I didn't even know, I can't even figure out whether it's like the best song I've ever made or the worst thing I've ever made, or both. So that's coming. That's to be played. But the next one, this one's Green Frankenstein. This is not a funk song, and it is about Frankenstein and possibly something else toward the end. Here it is.
It's alive. When he kills all our friends, haunting us to the grave. He's alive, he's alive, he's alive. Digging up corpses from the grave to build a new creature. Making our body with the parts we save. In this double feature. Now there's the killer that's been set on the loose.
So that's song number 9. And so what right now, by the way, if you're watching, one thing you could do that will help me out a lot is hit that like button. That helps other people find this. I know it's set on every video that people do on YouTube and stuff, but it's set for a reason, right? Because that helps the algorithm kind of put you earlier in a search bar. Like if somebody's looking for art streams, that'll help them. So if you can, click that like button right now. I'm talking about you if you're listening right now. Another thing that I would recommend you guys do is on Spotify or whatever music listening platform that you can add my music to it. Joshua Kemble, Modern Monsters, and just kind of play it every once in a while. Play it for a friend. Tell people about the album and stuff. I'm really proud of it. I think it's good music. And I put a lot of effort into it, and I'm really enjoying the music thing. And so I need that. So click the like button and check out the music. I have 3 albums out now that I've released. Actually, 4 albums total, but 3 that I've released in the last few months. And I want to keep making music, but in order to do that, I'd prefer to not be making it in a vacuum. So support it. Support indie stuff. Otherwise, you're just going to get the mainstream BS that we're all the lamestream mainstream. Anyhow, so what else? We're kind of working on stuff. Nice. Pepsi said download it on Apple, and he said perfect album cover. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that too. That's a painting I did a couple years back, and was finally able to use for an album cover. I had that in my back pocket for an album cover for quite a few years now. All right. Let's see here. What else? Okay. Without further ado, I'm going to share the most embarrassing of all the songs on the album. The one that I don't know whether I don't know how I even feel about this song. I am filled with pride and joy, and I love this song. It's probably my favorite song that I've ever recorded. At the same time, it might be the worst song I've ever recorded. And it's kind of in that wonderful space of awful and wonderful that I love so much in other people's music. And so I'm inclined to like it in my own. But this is the most ridiculous song I've ever written, and yet I love it. This one is called Yellow Mummy. Here it is. All right, so that was Yellow Mummy. Yeah, I got funky with it. And Jim can probably talk about this cuz he does like a lot of music for his movies and stuff, and he's done a lot of funk songs. Here's the thing about funk. It is so fun to play on guitar and bass because you get to it's real choppy and loose. And as long as you're kind of following some progressions on the neck, it's like, it's pretty much, you just rock some scales. And like on bass in particular, it's super fun because you just fly across scales and it just sounds really cool. Even though a lot of it's just like not like crazy hard to do on the instruments, it sounds very impressive. And it's so fun to play. Like I would love to do like a live gig as like a funk bassist because it's super fun. It's just fun music to play. And then not only that, it's like, it's just fun. And I love funk. Like I actually have a real soft spot for that kind of music. And one of my favorite punk bands, the Minutemen, is like that kind of music. And so that was very inspired by the Minutemen, which I feel like I nailed because I send tracks like this to my buddy Kevin when I record them, and then to the Artcasters crew. And Kevin actually responded to me and was like, dude, that's a Mike Watt style bass line, like total Minutemen vibes there. And I was like, perfect. That's kind of what I was going for. So I was glad that without mentioning the Minutemen, he read the Minutemen from that, which is really cool. Let's see here. So that was it. That was Modern Monsters album. That was the preview of that album. And Jim was saying Rick James called and he said sign that boy. I love that kind of music though, and I would love to do a whole album of it. Scott said digging it, mummy funk is all right with me. And then Dylan was asking where I got the idea of naming the monsters after colors. So I think that this is a new theory. It's not that new, but it's something I'm starting to feel more and more convicted about as I get older. I think that as an artist or a musician, you're defined by your limitations. And for total creative freedom, I think, especially improv, and that's kind of what I've been doing with music, is just like yes ending. So like I'll sit down, I'll have 15 minutes to track something, and so I just come up with something that sounds passable for a verse, and then I'll track that, and then the next day, I'll revisit that and come up with like a chorus or like a breakdown and do it in little sections and just kind of yes end whatever I come up with. The problem with that is that can become jam music real fast, and not really structured unless you come up with some limitations. So some of the limitations you start with, especially in rock and roll, is just like limitations of music instruments. Like, okay, I'm not going to have a full orchestra at my, fingertips. I'm going to limit this to like 2 guitars, a bass, whatever it is, that can be a limitation that helps you be really creative. Another limitation is just a theme. And that's a limitation I've been getting really into lately, where it's like just a rule, like an arbitrary rule. And that's where the monsters and colors came from, was like, it's just a rule, like a guideline to kind of act as a through line to kind of improvise over. So it's kind of like coming up with the structure. So that's where it came from. And I love the idea of like a theme that can kind of go all over the place. Like, just because it's monsters doesn't mean I can't do political songs or personal songs or anything like that. It's just, it needs to fit this like one little restriction that my weird autistic brain put on it, And for me, that works really well for creativity. So this is something I think that's what makes comics so fun. The limitation of having, panels, of having balloons, of having like a grid that you're going to kind of stick with for most of the book. And then you can break out of those limitations, but having those limitations is going to enable you to make something great and focused. And so that's my theory on it. And I think it's half the trick to self-discipline is limitations. And this is another thing that I've been really big on lately, that I think is the biggest deal for artists. And I don't know if enough is said about this. As corny as it is, I think the big trick to art is self-discipline. I think that's the big trick. I think all the other hacks and stuff like that are just like, odd versions of just self-discipline. Like when it comes down to life in general, I think that if you can have self-discipline, you can have a healthy marriage, you can have like a healthy life, you can have healthy finances. You can do pretty much anything with good self-discipline. But if you have no self-discipline, you're going to struggle with pretty much every element of your life. And at my age, I've just realized that more and more and more, how that is the big thing is self-discipline, because it's really easy to start stuff. It's really hard to finish stuff. And the activity of finishing what you started requires self-discipline, because it's not fun the whole way. And it requires like the weird discipline to just show up and when you say you're going to do something, do it. And so anyhow, that's kind of my take on it. So I'm rambling, but yeah. And music has been like that for me lately, where I've just, the thing that our community was doing a long time ago, like the 100 days of making comics kind of theory, of like, put in some time every single day. For me, it's been 15 minutes a day of doing music, and I already have 3 albums, and it's been like 2 months since I started doing that. So I think if I can just continue and be disciplined about it, and like spend that, even today when I'm like, man, I got a lot of this book I got to catch up on. But if I spend like 15 minutes doing that music, that's going to allow for like the muse to hit, and it's going to flow freely, and I'm going to end up making a lot of music. Whether it succeeds or not, that's kind of out of my control. But it's like, what I can do is make good stuff. And like, that's what I like doing. I like making things I feel are really good. I feel really confident about this album. I feel like it's a good album. And I feel like I'll make more really great stuff. If I just am disciplined about showing up and allowing the process to do its thing. And that'll unlock the muse. Speaking of, I have to go feed my dogs. It's been 2 hours, so I'm going to go feed the dogs. I will be back on streaming, probably later today. And until then, I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me, listening to my crazy rants. And I will see you guys probably in about an hour, because I'm probably going to feed the dogs, and then I myself am going to eat, and then I will come back on stream and be rocking. So if you guys are working in an hour, make sure you're in there. Thanks, guys, for checking out my album, Modern Monsters. If you liked those songs, get them on Apple Music or iTunes, or just if you have Spotify, which I listen to most of my music on Spotify now, just make sure you add Joshua Kemble on there. Chris said Paige is coming along too. That's exciting. Chris, if you want, when I get back on, if you're up for it, we could live stream and chat together. But I don't know, like, again, whatever. Maybe Jim too could hop on or whatever. I know Jim's, I don't know. I know a lot of you guys are probably at work or whatever. All right. I will see you guys in about an hour. Thanks, and see you in an hour. Bye.